600,000 people go missing in the United States each year. Tens of thousands remain mysteriously missing.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mysteriously Missing. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. My name's Justine.
And I'm Karen. Welcome back. Our case today is Tommy Lee Brailey, and he disappeared on August 25th, 2017, after leaving a co-worker's birthday celebration at Brewer's Pub. He left in his car and he were never seen again. And he was 52 at the time. He'd be 53 years old today. The pub is in Sumter, South Carolina, but his home was only a 15-minute drive away from the pub.
Yeah, and that night he went missing. He was driving his 2004 BMW. It had South Carolina tag, which read LYB as in boy 406, and it's a silver and black sedan with Pittsburgh Steelers chrome plates on the front. He was wearing a Continental Tires polo type shirt, which is where he worked, and it had horizontal blue and white stripes and dark pants, possibly blue jeans. And we don't know if he had any tattoos, but none in the pictures that we can see.
Right. And according to NamUs, Tommy is 5'5" to 5'6", 165 to 180 pounds, black African American, black hair with a very close cropped haircut with a high forehead, and brown eyes. He had a small mustache at the time of his disappearance, and he has surgical scars on both of his forearms, and his ears are pierced. So Tommy was really loved by his family and friends. He has a wife, Mildred, and 2 teenage daughters, and a sister and mom, and it just, every time they hold a vigil or a gathering, friends and family show up, and you can just see how much he's loved. And he was a master griller and a very funny guy and a die-hard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So just a really good family man. He worked at Continental Tire, as you mentioned, and that was 9 miles south of Brewer's Bar and Grill. And when you look at the job positions there, and we're not exactly sure what he did, but they have an operator that does tire building, assembly of tires, and a multi-craft technician and a product engineer. So it looks like a manufacturing or tire company.
Yeah, so the night that he went missing, it was around 6:30 p.m. He had actually said goodbye to his wife, and this was on Thursday, August 24th of 2017. He was off to work. He said goodbye to his wife, Mildred. He went to work, saw his coworkers, finished his shift there, and then they all went to a bar that night to celebrate a coworker's birthday, and that is the Brewer's Bar and Grill.
Right, and the police were saying that he had purchased some food and drinks on his card, but after that, there was no activity on his card.
Right, and around 2 a.m. Friday, so the next day, he left the bar. There is video footage of him leaving the bar to his BMW that we talked about. No one was following him. No one was out there waiting for him. He got into his car, and he left the driveway or the parking lot and has never been seen since then.
Right, and he only had a 15-minute drive to his house, so no cell phone activity, and as I mentioned, no bank activity after that. Investigators have even looked at older phone records from before he went missing and to try and find if there were any patterns or new information, but that hadn't been fruitful at all.
Once Tommy left the bar that morning, it's still 2 a.m. in the morning, there was no other footage of him driving. Sometimes if you're driving down the street, there might be a gas station that picks up your car at an intersection or something, but
right.
No other footage of him driving. And then the weather that night, the high temperature, according to the Farmer's Almanac, was about 89 degrees, and then the low was about 73 degrees.
Pretty warm that night.
Yeah, definitely warm. No rain. It could be a little foggy. Keep in mind it's early morning. So again, dark outside, maybe hard to see a little bit, but no rain or anything like that.
Yeah, and it did mention a little bit of fog, but, maybe not at the time he was driving. And the routes towards his home, there was a couple ways he could have gone unless he got on a route and got confused. But he would end up on the US 401. And as we stated, it's supposedly about a 15-minute drive to his home. It looks like there's a lot of 2-lane roads on the way, so that's a little concerning. Now, if he had taken Jefferson Road to North Main Street to Highway 46, that could get him on the US 401 towards the northeast, also known as the Oswego Highway. And it goes through a lot of forested areas, so that's also a concern.
Yeah, and even, those different routes, if you're drinking, I'm sure he had a couple drinks with friends. You could get turned around maybe while you're driving. It's dark out. So that's kind of...
It appeared to look like with those 2-lane roads, it's probably pretty dark, especially along the forested areas.
Yeah.
And the other route he could have taken that was a somewhat direct route was US 378 East and then to the 401.
Yeah, and not only could he have taken a route that maybe he wasn't really familiar with, but there was also bodies of water, on these different roads back there. There was swamps, possibly a river. There was on the maps, it looks like he maybe passed a couple rivers or creeks, and then there was also some ponds. So, there's
ponds
different
nearby the road, right? Initially, Chief Russell Rourke said that the officers searched the land around Brailey's home, the surrounding roads and bodies of water. They also extended into the PD region, which is about an hour northeast of the Brewer's Pub, where he was last seen.
Yeah, and according to Lieutenant Charles Banghart, the search has been assisted by several vehicles. So they sent out ATVs, helicopters, and that was all from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. And they also had a plane from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources.
Yeah, they also requested that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division use its helicopters in the winter when it's easier to see all of the ground that he may have covered. Which brings up this very interesting side to this case. I wanted to go over the crime rate in the Sumter area. It's been a concern over many years. And then I want to bring in the positive side to that, in which there has been a major step up in police involvement with the community. And it's just very refreshing to see that. And we will see that in this case as well.
In the past, the overall Sumter, South Carolina crime rate is 27% higher than the South Carolina average and is 68% higher than the national average. And we found that information on the citydata.com website. And that 68% is just, it seems a little high.
It seems extremely high.
Yeah.
That's a real problem in that area of crime, it
Definitely.
seems like, or was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we also found information on bestplaces.net. Their crime is ranked on a scale of 1 being low to 100 being high, and the Sumter violent crime is 85.4, and the U.S. average is 31.1, and then the Sumter property crime is 72.3, and the U.S. average is 38.1.
So 100, the highest you can go, and they're at 85 for violence and 72 for property, which makes me think of, was someone targeting his BMW that night and perhaps, waiting in the back of the car?
Yeah,
or
because those video footages, there's no one following him.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say, but someone could have been waiting in the parking lot or, followed him home on one of those back roads. So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, so, that those are the crime statistics in the past. Now, there's a huge positive side to this, that these statistics are going down. And I think the Sumter County Sheriff's Department has taken great steps towards decreasing the crime rate. And it's the lowest it's been in 12 years, according to an article in 2017, so now 13 years. And they've seen a decrease in crime each year, and that was according to Sumter County Sheriff Anthony Dennis. So according to WLTX, the number of burglaries dropped nearly 40% in 4 years, and there was just one murder in 2016 compared to 5 in 2012. Sheriff Dennis said he is proud of the progress the department has made throughout the years. He believes that the relationship the department has with the citizens of Sumter County has affected the crime rate numbers. And it's just so encouraging to see that the police are using the public and creating that fabulous relationship. I think in more towns and more of these cases, if we saw things like that, where the police involvement and they reached out to the citizens, a lot of these cases, we can't even get any information.
I know, yeah.
And without the citizens and cooperation between law enforcement and the citizens, we would not have seen this decrease. So he is giving credit to the public, and I just really appreciate that.
Right, and even the police have been at the news conferences. They were at the vigils for the family. There was even a councilwoman, Vivian Fleming McGainey. She attended as well, which is pretty cool. And then the Sumter Police Department Lieutenant Charles Banghart said he wants more people to come forward and give tips. Anything. If you knew anything about this, just even a little tiny thing that you saw or heard, just come forward and it could help them.
So it really warms my heart to see that these people, the public officials and the police are getting involved with this family and standing by their side. And you can see that on some of the news and video clips.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Banghart says he's actually been keeping in contact with the family regularly and assures them and the public that they are not only still searching for Tommy, but they still need help from the public in finding him. And then there's also a quote from him that says, "I want somebody out there who saw something a year ago or heard something 2 weeks ago or see something 6 months from now to call and give us a tip." So they're really looking for anything.
Yes, and it also makes the public feel like they can reach out to the police department, because I know in some of these cases that we've been investigating, it seems like the police department is either keeping themselves away from the public,
right, yeah,
and not giving a lot of information. Like Nancy Woodrum, our first case, there was just not a lot there. And also that it's safe to call in. They want to hear anything you have to say. They're there for you, and they want to talk to you.
right.
And that's really refreshing to see, because I really feel like more cases would be solved if we had that type of police involvement. The sister stated in a news conference that although the police were strangers at the beginning, they are more like our family now.
And that's what I'm getting from this case.
Yeah,
they kind of feel like family.
It's so lovely to see that they feel so validated by the police department. And the case investigator said, "I've gotten to know Tommy through the family, and he wants closure too."
Law enforcement has even come out to these gatherings that these, the family members are holding for him. And on Saturday, March 17th in 2018, there was a crowd of about 50 people that gathered at a field next to Brewer's Bar and Grill. And they prayed and asked for help from the public. They even released balloons, which I saw in a video. They were Pittsburgh colors, yellow and black. So that was kind of nice to see.
Right. And the family, another gathering they had was an hour of laughter, because he was very funny. And they held that August 24th, 2018, which would be 1 year since he went missing, at a lounge in Lynchburg, their hometown. And it was open mic night, and they shared funny memories and stories about Tommy. So again, police presence at some of these gatherings, which has been very reassuring to the family that they still care.
His wife Mildred is quoted saying that the last year has been a total nightmare for me and our girls ask me every day what happened to my daddy, and I have to tell them that I don't know. And there is also another quote that says, we're missing a big part of our family, and this is not his character. It's unusual for him to not check in after a few hours, and he would never leave without telling someone. Which to me is kind of interesting, because there is something that says he bought tickets for a Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Yeah, he was a big fan.
Which was only a few days after he went missing.
Yeah, the game was supposed to be in Charlotte.
Yeah, it was
South Carolina.
The Steelers versus the Panthers, and it was, I believe, 7 days after he went missing.
Yeah, 6 or 7 days after.
So it's not like he had been planning, to leave his family or to walk off the face of the earth. It's
right. So what happened to Tommy? I mean, he is a father, a son, a brother, well loved and liked. I mean, just a really nice man that, you're glad to have around on this planet. And it was stated by Chief Rourke that he didn't have any medical issues. So if something happened on the way home and, he had a heart attack or something, it just doesn't sound like that's the case. He was 52 years old, not that old. And we did talk about the forest and bodies of water, but, was there someone in the back of his car? I mean, did he get abducted for property?
Right. Because it all sort of happens after he leaves the bar.
Right.
I mean, he's with friends at the bar. You see him on a camera leaving. Everything's normal. And then he just never comes home.
And they're saying no cell phone activity. So does that mean no pings on the way? Because it sounds like they checked that out and there was just nothing. So did somebody get in the car and just turn off his phone or take over? Or did he, we talked about in previous cases that if you crash, your cell phone still would be pinging.
Right.
If he had it on. Did he have it on? Yeah, you'd think he would. Most people do. Yeah, his sister was quoted as saying, the earth didn't just open up and swallow him up. So what has happened to Tommy?
Yeah, someone has to know something. And I also think bringing back the whole security camera thing or footage of him leaving, it's not like he drove to another gas station because that would have been caught on camera somewhere, you would think.
Yes.
So there must have been, I kind of think there was someone maybe waiting or followed him or...
Although those back roads, when I was kind of Google mapping them and going down them, I didn't see that there was a lot of places where there would be a camera. There's a lot of forests, some fields, swamps along the way. And so, has he just ended up in an area where he hasn't been located yet? Not a very far drive, though, but dark along the way. And did someone follow him, like you stated, and force him to pull over? And there's not a lot of lights in some of those roads. And abduct him and take the car and go. This is a very loved man, and his family and friends want to know what happened to him, and they want him home.
Yeah, I mean, even the pictures that we find of him, he just looks so like a funny guy to be around.
And happy, yeah.
And his daughters, there's pictures of him and his daughters, and
yes,
it's just a very sad... because we're missing him and his car, and there's no information out there.
Right.
Of what happened.
And the very positive side, the police involvement, which we don't see often, and very grateful to cover a case like that where they're doing such a good job, and the family feels so touched and honored that they're there. So if you have any information about Tommy's disappearance, the Sumter police do want to hear from you. They have a Facebook page, and the police department non-emergency number at Sumter is 803-436-2700. You can also call Crime Stoppers at 803-436-2718 or 1-888-274-6372.
But you can always call in anonymously. I just want to put that out there. You don't have to give out your name or anything.
Right. For whatever reason, some people do want to do that. But I also feel like this police department is very open and very willing to talk to anybody and not shame them or make them feel like they have information that isn't important enough.
Yeah, and we'll have some pictures on our Instagram and Facebook. You guys can check those out. Our Instagram is Mysteriously Missing. Our Facebook is Mysteriously Missing, and we also have an email. You can email us at mysteriously-missing411@gmail.com.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Please like, share, subscribe to this podcast so that others can bring more awareness to this case and help family and friends bring their loved ones home.